In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
I have the privilege of being here with a medium, an evidentiary medium named Brooke Ashley, which is a great name for a medium. I don't know why. It sounds like it would be, in a movie or a Clue movie or something. It's a great name for a medium, Brooke. So thank you for being here with your great name.
Thank you
Love
so
it.
much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cool. And you are, like I mentioned, an evidentiary medium. A lot of people will call themselves different types of mediums. Can you clarify for our audience what an evidentiary medium is and how long you've been doing this?
So when we talk about an evidential medium, it really just means that I hold myself accountable for the evidence being able to be validated by the sitter, which is the person who's receiving the reading. Because when we talk about mediumship, we are talking about basically the spirit world as a whole, and that can entail a lot of different things. So when I say evidential medium, that means it's like someone you should know in life, like your mother or your father, your friend. And I'm bringing through pieces of information and evidence that you should be able to then validate whether or not I'm correct. So it's kind of like a medium that is held accountable by the evidence that they're bringing forward, essentially.
And do you find that when you do a reading, sometimes the people, like if I say, "Hey, Brooke, I want to talk to my mother," but someone else comes through, does that happen far too often? That is your success rate pretty high getting the person they want, or does other people come through and that's what they get
So
on
it's
these
interesting
readings?
you ask that because there's a lot of mediums out there who will not allow you to kind of steer the reading like that. They'll say, I can't guarantee who comes through. So they prefer you to not say, I'm going to hear from this person. They'll just tell you, I'm going to get who I get, and that's it. I don't do that. I've actually been lucky enough to be able to practice for many, many years to be able to go direct. And that's what we call going direct. There's two different ways to go direct. You could go direct to someone in an audience and say, I want to work with you. Or you can go direct by saying, just give me the name and the relationship, or just the relationship or something like that of the person that you would like to hear from. I have a lot of experience in going direct because a lot of the ways that I work when I'm outside of a gallery reading, which is I'm on TikTok a lot. And so when someone pays me for a reading, I like to just cut to the chase. There's maybe 100 people in the room with spirits and loved ones on the other side who also want to talk. So I feel like calling that person forward by saying their name or the relationship calls them to the front of the line. And then I can read that way. So for me, I would say I don't control the spirit world. I can't make somebody come forward and feel comfortable talking to me as a medium, but I do have like a 90 to 95% success rate going direct.
Oh, that's great. And I had a guest on once. I've had several mediums, like the 6th year doing the show, and I've had several mediums on. And one was a guy I saw at Lilydale. Lilydale was a spiritual community in New York, and he was a featured guest, and he was doing a gallery reading in the auditorium there. And he was like talking to spirits, telling them, yeah, I got it. Yeah. He would like talk to them, the spirits, and then talk to people in the audience. Do you actually hear voices in your head? And are you in your mind saying, I'll get to you. Just leave me alone for a minute. I'm going to focus on this person. Do you have a bunch of voices going in your head when you're doing a gallery
It
reading like
happens
that?
sometimes. So my clear senses are kind of going on all cylinders. So I may see a piece of information, then I'll hear something, then I'll just know something, or then I'll get a sensation or a feeling in my body. So all my clear senses are like moving very fast. But yes, I've been interrupted before. I had a situation where I had this sweet old granny coming forward and she was telling me information. I was in a gallery reading and all of a sudden it was like, breaks. And this nasty woman came forward. She was mean. She knew she was mean, and she was going to talk and tell her story, whether I liked it or not. So she basically told that other woman to get out of her way.
Mm.
So luckily enough, this sweet woman on the other side was like, okay, let her talk. So I was able to give the message and bring forward this woman who really needed to apologize for the way that she behaved in life, and then redirect back to this other woman in the spirit world and finish her reading as well. So yes, I do get cut off sometimes.
So you mentioned the clairs. So there's a lot of different types of senses, clear audio, clear audio, whatever they're called. Could you cover the clairs, the different types of sensory ways that you actually sense and feel spirit? And is there one that you're more proficient at, or are they just it's a
Yeah.
wild card, however they want to
So
appear
we
to you?
have clairsenses, which is everybody knows of the clairvoyance. I feel like everyone's really familiar with that one. That's clear seeing. And that just means that you see images in your mind's eye. And then we have things like clairaudience, which is clear hearing, claircognizance, which is clear knowing. Something just drops into your head and you know it, you don't know how. And we have clairsentience as well, which is clear feeling. Clairsentience is very helpful because it helps tie everything together. But then we have these kind of offshoots like clairgustience and clairolience, which is clear tasting and clear smelling. Um, so when I first started mediumship 6 years ago, my first class was with Cindy Kaza. She's been my mentor for a very long time. I've had a lot of really great mentors, but she's really my pivotal mentor, one of my most pivotal mentors. And she talked about the clairs and let everybody know that, hey, you're probably going to have two that are like stronger than the rest at first, but they do move. So when I first started, it was claircognizance and clairaudience were my strongest. Now my strongest is clairvoyance and clairsentience, but it takes a lot of practice because what will happen when you're working with the spirit world for a long time and you don't give up, I think that's the thing. Is everybody has this ability in some sense. It's just whether or not you're going to be on stage doing it for a living. It's hard. You want to give up sometimes because it can get really difficult. Things get taken from you. So my clairaudience was going away, my claircognizance was going away, and I had to start strengthening other clear senses, but it's really just the spirit world saying, okay, enough of that. Now let's do these instead. Let's strengthen this. You're good at that. Now we're going to take it away. Now you're going to need to learn how to use this. So it moves around. I think that the most important thing as a medium is to come to a place where all of your clear senses are so well rounded that each piece of information that you get is probably different than the last way you received it. So I may see a man who looks like he's in his 60s. So I know I have a male who's in his 60s who would have passed in his 60s. Then I hear the name Bill, like I hear it. So I'm hearing the name Bill. Then I see like a red checkered shirt that he always used to wear. And then I can feel the squeezing in my chest. So I know he had a heart attack. So they'll move for me. Yeah.
So that's interesting. A couple things I want to hit on. One, you mentioned Cindy Kaza. So she's from the Holzer file with Dave Schrader, right? Is that what
Yes.
she's most known for? She's
Flavor
probably in a bunch
Files,
of other stuff too.
Ghost of Devil's Perch, and a lot of shock docs with Steve Shippey as well.
Yeah, and that's great because so you attended 6 years ago. You're like, I have this capability. I need to kind of grow it. And did she just happen to have something in your area where you live? I think you're from the Pacific Northwest. Was she out near you when there was a class and you just took it, or was it an online
It was
class? Or
online. I think it was like COVID brought a lot of negative things, but I think it also brought a lot of positive things in the way that things that I don't think that we would have been privy to having before we were now, so she was doing a lot of online courses, and I think she was used to doing more in person at the time. But because of COVID coming along, she wanted to do, I think, online courses to make sure that she could still bring that teaching to people. So I did an online class. And so I watched her like everybody else did on the Holzer files. And when I saw her, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, yep, that's it. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about mediumship. That's what I feel like I have, but I don't know if I have. So when I saw her offering courses, I said, well, let's put this to bed once and for all. Either I am or I'm not. And I assumed that I probably wasn't, took a class and realized that I was, and took off from there. Yeah.
she does a lot of auto writing, right? Like handwriting things, like writing. Do you do that as well, or is that something that works for you too? Or
With the automatic writing, Cindy, I think she had told me that she started out automatic writing. That's how her gifts started was in automatic writing and then kind of branched out from there. I do some automatic writing. I usually save automatic writing for if I'm feeling blocked in a paranormal location that I'm at. So if I'm inside of the paranormal location, wherever we're going, because I'm also the co-owner of Berkeley Imprint Paranormal, um, I will automatic write if I feel like I'm being blocked. So I'll sit down and start to automatic write. But I usually don't need it inside of my private one-on-ones or my gallery readings. I usually don't need to write to get the information.
So I saw on your website, and we should give it a plug. Is it brookeashleymedium.com? What is
It's
your website?
mediumbrookeashley.com. So
Medium Brooke. Okay, I just left it
okay.
over here. Okay, great. MediumBrookeAshley.com. Great. Okay, cool. And it has, you actually have online courses. You teach people like you 6 years ago. They're thinking, God, I wish I had some help and somebody could help me nurture this and bring it out. So you do that now for people. That's on your website. And also, you do some investigations. You go into the Washoe Club. Have you ever been
I
there
have
before
not
in
been to the
Washington? Is that
WashU
your
Club just yet, so I'm really excited to go see Tara and Ryan who put on the WashU Con, because it will be my first time. So I'm going not only as a gallery reader and someone who's kind of on the docket as, talent for that, convention, but I'm also feel like I'm going as a, a fan and someone who's like feels like Virginia City would be a bucket list item. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I made a documentary and there was a shaman in it and he had an early encounter where he took a picture of a cowboy at the Washoe Club, like a silhouette of a cowboy, that was kind of chasing him. Yeah. So yeah, that's where like Ghost Adventures, that's where they started, right? Zach Baggins and the boy and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah. So how big a part of what you do is gallery readings versus investigations? I mean, is it kind of just whatever
It
comes your
is.
way?
It's usually whatever comes my way. Gallery readings, I love them. And I've been able to work with alongside of some really cool people that have been putting on a lot of really cool events. So I've done gallery readings are usually reserved for things like either private events, paranormal conventions, and metaphysical conventions. And then just whatever I'm doing. I'm kind of one of those like adventure at its finest sort of people. So I'll pick up and get on an airplane. I'll pick up and get in the car and go. If it means a new adventure, I've worked with a lot of people in terms of like stuff like that just popping up and me not expecting it. So I've had a lot of really great friends that I've made in this space of, the supernatural, just kind of going with the flow. So wherever it takes me, I do galleries. They're my favorite is galleries. Of course, I'm booked usually every day with private readings online as well. So
Wow. Have you ever done an investigation on the East Coast? I'm from Massachusetts. I'm 2 miles from one of the most haunted houses in the United States, and my listeners probably get sick of me saying this, but when I made a documentary, it's called the S.K. Pierce Haunted Victorian Mansion. It's in Gardner, Massachusetts. It was just sold. Actually, they got new owners probably about a couple months ago, and they're doing a great job marketing it, doing a lot of special events there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of haunted houses out near me, actually. There's probably, half a dozen or
yeah.
so within
Two of
driving
my
distance.
really great friends, Kim and Scott Horn, just got back from the SK Pierce house. They did an event with booze, brews, and barbecues out there. So I'm still
All right, they have a beer. They have a beer now where it's on. Yes, I was actually I had to get my car checked, and the Westminster Garage is one of the women who is like one of the main people at that house. Her name's Marion Luwama, and her son gave me. I mentioned, oh yeah, it's great, new marketing, and he brought me out a beer that they had. So it's really great. They have a nice brewery thing. Yeah, that was just a little while ago. So interesting. Wow. Yeah, you have to make it out here. It's I hear like I just interviewed some people that's the owner of a place called the Linville Manor in Maryland, and that's more of kind of like a cool place and the ghosts you can deal with. Gardner has some pretty um, bad stories, I think, that have happened to people there at that house. So it's a great house and looks cool, and it's got some really good stuff to it. But there's also some negative things that happen there. In the
yeah.
past.
And I feel like that's,
So
that's it. That's what causes a haunting a lot of times too. So you're going to have, I feel like some of the locations you're going to have a good amount of that in the past, which is probably what's causing the haunting to begin with.
well, you get a lot of do you find that you find places that have portals that you discover, and there's transient ghosts and there's like resident ghosts at places that you go to at some of the places that you
Yeah,
investigate?
definitely. So there are locations that I've been to where there are spirits or a spirit that is always inhabiting the place every time I go. But then there are sometimes portals or spaces that feel opened up. I call them train stations where people will come through, spirits will come through, and one of the places is
Yeah.
Manresa Castle in Port Townsend. And uh, they tell all these rumors about the castle. It was a Jesuit priest society, and they always talk about the fact that one of the priests would have hung themselves in the attic in the turret, which is not founded. There's no evidence to prove that at all, although it was a Jesuit priest society, and we did uncover through our investigations actual documentation of why these priests were at this particular location. And they were giving the church a bad name, and I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about when I talk about that. So they
Mhm.
were there to be rehabilitated. We found paperwork on that as well, but no one could ever figure out who the priest was. Well, we figured out who it was because he told us repeatedly through Estes method and Martin. I just going. My partner's name is Martin, and we go there and we've been able to get the building empty about 3 times. And investigate the whole thing. We found a guy who kept telling us his name was Frank, and he was a priest there. And so he's always there. I did some research. There were 2 Franks that were Jesuit priests at that location. But then in the attic, it's like, I mean, you can't even do an Estes method. It's like a train station up in the attic. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and this priest, did he stay earthbound as a ghost because he was afraid he didn't want to deal with what was going to happen on the other side if he saw the light and had an earthbound and had a life review? Was he staying there because he didn't want to be crossed over? Do you know, or
That's the
any?
feeling that I get. That's the feeling I get when I communicate with him. That's the feeling that I get when we would do Estes method with him. He's nasty all the time, nasty. I think I've only gotten him to
Oh
be
gosh.
nice a couple times just for a short period of time. Through like empathy and stuff, and him really a little taken aback that anybody would be empathetic towards him, but he is nasty. I mean, he calls the dirtiest names. He is on it. He's always trying to get under your skin, Frank is. So I do think that, yeah, he's probably not ready to kind of reintegrate with his whole soul, so to speak. Maybe he still has some things he needs to rectify within himself.
Do you think that other guests have mentioned that ghosts are earthbound and spirits are different? They've crossed over, but they can come back. Do you find that there's different types of entities, that there are spirits and ghosts, or do you think they're one and the same?
It's interesting. So my take on spirits and ghosts, it's maybe a little different than other people's. And I guess it's just my personal experience as a medium and how I feel. But I definitely feel like I don't feel any spirits are stuck. I don't believe that any souls are stuck. I believe what we're experiencing is a fragmented tiny piece of the soul that maybe has stayed behind or imprinted behind. There's a lot of things that could be going on. Energetic imprint, an egregore or a tulpa of the person. So it acts as the person, it behaves as the person, it looks like it is the person, but it's an egregoric tulpa sort of situation, whereas their energy bleeds into the space so much that it creates its own branch off or break off of the person. And then I
How do you identify that? Because that's got to be the biggest thing people are worried about when they do a Ouija boards or whatever is it my mother, or is it a demon or a spirit, an evil entity, dark entity, performing as my mother? So how do you know that? How are you able to see that? I mean, is it something the average person can't see through, but you can kind of pick up like, wait a minute, this energy is not human. This is
I
something
think that
different.
everybody is able to really tap into that. I think what you need is discernment and intention setting. So if you set the proper intentions, then you can create maybe this space where you are only bringing in to speak to the mother, but you have to have intention of setting that intention of your space, making sure that you're uh, retaining that space just for what you ask to come forward. So I think that everybody has the ability to discern that. You just need to have discernment and intention when you're doing it.
So before we hit start, you mentioned that you used to work in a daycare. Was that like your job before you started doing this
Yeah.
full time, or was there?
I
Yeah.
ran a licensed
Okay.
in-home childcare for about 13 years. So,
Now, what did you think about kids? I have an autistic daughter. I have two daughters. One's autistic, and the other one is not. The autistic one is she prides herself on being able to read energy, and I mean, she blew a shaman away one time with an experience he had when he tried to do a healing on her, and she met
yeah.
him. Yeah, where he's like it never happened before. So, was that working with kids in daycare? Were you picking up a bunch of stuff? Were they seeing dead people, or you have any weird stories like that you could tell? I know it's their clients, you don't want to give away names or anything, but was there anything that you're like, wow, this kid's special, or this one really has a
Yeah,
gift?
children are incredibly open and sensitive, and I think it's because they're so shortly removed from the spirit world themselves, which is why they're so sensitive. So you will find kids, and I do know I have worked with kids on the spectrum. My son is very slightly on the spectrum, but I find that kids that are on the spectrum, they tend to be that way because their mind is there's something about them that's so psychic and so open that I think that it's like this. I find that, them to be very special and very fascinating because I think that they're smarter than the rest of us, honestly. I mean, I'm probably a little on the spectrum myself. I think anybody who's connected to the spirit world probably is a little bit on the spectrum, but yeah, I've noticed kids are so uber sensitive and they'll say things like that they talked to their grandma last night and I know their grandma is gone. And so, yeah, you hear a lot of incredible stuff from kids. And I tend to kind of, um, it's fun watching them interact with each other too, because their minds are so in this space of, what we call imagination. Uh, and I put that in quotes because is it really all imagination? But I find it fascinating just to kind of watch kiddos play and interact. And some of the things they say is wild. I know that my son, very open, was seeing shadow figures since he was like old enough to talk. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, my youngest, who is now 17, about a year ago, I did a film. There was a shaman in it, the one I mentioned. He passed, right? And I'm divorced. I have her like every other weekend or whatever. And I remember we're driving with her, and she's like, "Dad, I saw Brad." That was his name, Brad Little Frog Hudson. And I'm like, "Really?" And because we had just gone to his wake, we just gone to his wake, and I'm like, "You mean in heaven?" Yeah, I did. And she said, "Oh, he said hi." He said I asked him if he missed us. He misses you and Mom, but things are going very well. And I said, "Well, Emmy, what did he look like on the other? Did he look like Brad, or did he look like a much younger version?" And she said, "Oh no, he looked a lot younger." And then I said, "Well, if he looked a lot younger, if he looked different, how did you recognize him?" And she just almost like rolled her eyes. She's like, "Dad, I recognized his energy, and it was like so matter of fact. And then she was done on to the
yeah,
next topic,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
yeah, so it's, I know I tried once in a while to see if she could give me any other stuff, but she's very secretive and keeps stuff revealed about what she can do and how she can read people and things like that. So, you
She
know,
sounds like she's gonna have a lot of, like, ability the older she gets and stuff, so it's good, though, that she understands energy in that way, and she already has, like, 20 legs up on everybody else because to be able to just recognize someone's energy like that, I mean, that's pretty special.
so let's talk about your class then. If someone takes your class, like my daughter or my ex-wife, who's feels she's a medium and she's trying to like get, what is it, like a 6-week course, or how's it work? Like, how do you help them kind of come out of the closet and
Yeah,
become mediums?
definitely. So I do group courses on different subjects. So I do I do a beginners class. I do beginners courses that are longer. It just depends on like what I'm offering at the time. But I also have an aura class that I just put out to teach people how to read auras. But I also mentor one-on-one. So I do 4-week courses where someone comes to me and they can know nothing about mediumship all the way up to wanting to be professional and they're intermediate, super advanced. And I can just meet them where they're at and I tailor everything to them specifically. So what do you know? What don't you know? And then I start teaching and I start getting like interactive, bringing in sitters so they can start to see how it works. I usually can get someone who's never connected. I can have them connecting to spirit the same day before they leave that class. So I also do one-on-ones where I will meet someone where they're at, and then I will see individually who they are and what they need in order to grow inside of their mediumship.
And have any of your students just kind of blown you away? Like you're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this person is going to be way better than me
Yeah.
or whatever. This person's highly attuned. Have you had some very special
Yes,
students?
definitely,
Yes.
absolutely. And I feel like it's interesting because I feel like every student blows me away in their own way too, because I can see where they're blocked. And so when I watch them come out of that or unblock that and like get a win, so to speak, that fascinates me every time. People not giving up on themselves, I think, fascinates me. So any student who's ready to not give up on themselves always fascinates me.
So, you know, this is kind of like reincarnation. Some people believe, some people don't. Demons. I've talked to different mediums. Some say, nope, I've never in 30 years come across a demon. It's just bad people, you know. And other people say, oh my God, yes, I've seen exorcisms or whatever. Where do you fall in that? Do you believe in demons, or do you think they're just bad ghosts but no
It's
demons?
interesting because my viewpoint has changed over the years. I could have been a demonologist at the age of 19 or 20. That's how much I knew about demonology. But I also
Um,
was Christian for a lot of my upbringing. So I had a religious connotation on my belief system, right? So, and I
mm,
watched a lot of A Haunting, which a lot of that is demon stuff on there. If the television show A Haunting, which has been around for 20 years, I think. Um, so
yeah.
it's changed. As I've become a medium and I moved into this space, I feel like a lot of times people's own viewpoint, whether or not they have more of a negative way of thinking or whether or not they just jump to the negative all the time, can really influence the way you're seeing something. Like if you watched Adam and Amy on Kindred Spirits, one person would be like, it's evil, it's evil. And then they'd come in there, get to the bottom of it, and show, hey, this is this is the previous homeowner and you're being too loud, you're making them mad. You know what I mean? Or so I think that people need to really check um where they're coming from, where their mindset's coming from, and what's happening with the person who believes there's a demon around. Because there could be a lot of different factors. It could be PK energy too. So there's a million different things that could be going on. And it's very rare, in my opinion, for it to actually be a demon. And of course, we call it lots of different things in different cultures. So we would say demon if we're, kind of blanket statement because of, Christianity or Catholicism. It's a well-known one here in the United States. So I think it's rare if that was to happen. Yeah.
So you're not totally closing the door on demons, I guess, but you're less, you're open that many more, just like UFO sightings are. There's an explanation for it, and it could be the person could be the source versus something that takes them over. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
yeah, because I've seen a lot of times that some of the times when I'm looking at these cases, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that is very interesting, like PK energy from maybe the parent or PK energy from the child, a haunting going on in the space, a lot of negative energy in the house, and those things can really switch the viewpoint of what's going on or switch the activity to a more negative type of activity. So yeah, I think it's just one you gotta be really careful before you slap the word demon on it, you know?
Yeah. How did your family cope with you becoming an evidentiary medium? Did it surprise them? I mean, it's 6 years ago isn't that long. I mean, time goes fast, right? I mean, did they have a hunch? Did you share an inkling with them, or did it just happen? You said, you know what? I left the daycare and I'm going to be
Well, my
a
mom
medium
always knew
full
that it
time.
was different. I'm adopted, so I was adopted at the age of 4. My sister, who's my full-blood sister, the only full-blood sister in our pack of, like, half siblings that never grew up with us, she and I are both highly sensitive, and my mom knew that, but my mom was also a little on the hippie side. She was a little bit, she's definitely ahead of her time, so she knew that there was something going on there. My mom's always believed in energy, the universe, things of that nature. So she's never been a religious person. She's always just been a very spiritual person. So she knew something was going on. But my dad is a boomer. both my parents are boomers, but my dad is a boomer and he is like boomer. So I haven't spoken to him in a year and a half, and he will not speak to me because I am a medium. Um,
Because he's religious, because he's Catholic, and it's against his religion, or just because he just thinks you're going off the far side or
Realistically, he's
whatever?
kind of atheist. He doesn't believe in anything. He thinks you're worm food when you pass away, and he comes from a day and age where it's just ridiculous. There's no such thing as ghosts. There's no such thing as you're worm food when you pass away. So for him, this is ludicrous. And he's not super far removed from Houdini trying to like burn us all at the stake, really. I mean, he was born in 46.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and you know, back in his day, they were coming off the back end of that spiritualism kind of thing where it was like all looking like a hoax and
Yeah.
just ridiculous. So he doesn't really
Yeah.
want to be involved. So I haven't spoken to him in quite a while.
Oh, oh. Well, I mean, when you I was gonna ask you a question on when you do investigations, do you like working with equipment, or does that get in the way? But you mentioned the Estes method, so it sounds like you do use equipment and you can harness it. And I would imagine when doing the Estes method, you're the one that's blindfolded in the chair and you're hearing stuff from an app or a ghost box or whatever, and a person is asking questions that you can't hear, but you're hearing kind of the reaction to it. So are you always the one wearing the blindfold when with the Estes method, or are you ever on the other side asking?
I am a paranormal investigator through and through, and it's kind of hard to mix my mediumship with the paranormal investigative side. So Martin lets me go into the building first, do my work as a medium. I like to go in blind. And then once I get all my information, then he can kind of let me in on stuff or we can look stuff up about the history. And then I go in paranormal investigative style. So I love to ask questions. Martin is great on the SS method, bringing through stuff. So we take turns. I love equipment. I love a good solid EVP recorder because once you get those voices that you just can't explain and they're so clear and like, how do you debunk that? So I'm split. Like yes, I'm an evidential medium and I love doing that. I love going into buildings and getting information, but I also love to be a paranormal investigator and do all of the paranormal investigative stuff as well. So I'm kind of split down the middle on that.
So do you have like a favorite ghost box that you got from somewhere, or do you have your favorite
Yeah,
equipment that you
actually my
use?
favorite is one that Martin handmade with Bill Chappell. It's literally a cardboard box with the mechanism inside and you have to
Wow.
hook up a battery and it turns on and it's a spirit box and it's my favorite because it's the clearest and it was handmade by my partner with Bill Chappell.
So who is Martin, by the way? You mentioned him. Is he part of your investigation
He's
crew,
my
or?
husband,
Okay. All right.
fiancé husband,
Okay.
and he is the other
Okay.
half
All right.
of Earthly Imprint Paranormal. We are a two-person team. We don't like to really mix it up with that. We'll work with other teams, like we love Reaper Paranormal from Minnesota, Chasing
Yeah.
Paranormal. We have we work with Olympic Strange Days all the time, which is Toby Johnson from Expedition Bigfoot and A Flash of Beauty.
Yeah, he's been on the show. He's been a
Mhm.
flash of beauty, or
Yeah.
Bigfoot, a flash of beauty. Toby, and I forget who the other gentleman is that he made the documentary with. Toby creates Bigfoot with a chainsaw. Creates Bigfoot. Yeah, and I have one in my house. I bought one
He's one
actually.
of my best
Did you have
buds.
two?
Him and Allie, his partner of Olympic Strange, they're like my
Yeah.
best friends. I literally was just hanging out with them last weekend, and we're gonna do film another episode at my sister's cabin in Greenview or Greenwater, Washington, because it's a hot spot and she had a lot of activities. So
Yeah.
he's like, Brooke, we got to get in there. It's an Airbnb now. So a couple weeks from now, we're going to be up in the mountains squatching. So
Oh, how does your evidentiary mediumship help with tracking down Bigfoot? What do you,
yeah, that's a
how
world
does
I
that
have
work?
not been into before in that manner. Like I've had my own Bigfoot
Yeah.
experience, but that was a lot of fun. We did an episode together that is on the Flash of Beauty channel and on the Olympic Strange Days channel called The Uneasy Chair. So if no one's seen The Uneasy Chair, they should go watch that episode. But he brought me into the woods. And he's like, what are you feeling? What's going on? He filmed me doing a gallery reading. He took us back into Manresa Castle and we did a whole experiment with this chair that used to belong in the castle. So it's great to squatch with him. It's interesting going into the woods because I know that I'm dealing with something that really puts me on edge. It's elemental, it's alien, I can feel all of it, and it's pretty spooky.
Yeah.
I'd be like way faster to go into a haunted building than into the middle of the woods, honestly.
Yeah, those are the scariest shows I see on it's a Travel Channel out here. It's in the woods, it's like that they're in the woods and they're dealing with stuff. So what do you think? We're getting near the end of the interview. What do you think would be what would you tell people about the after? Because I've had 130 plus guests over 6 years. More questions going in, more questions now than I had going in. What is your take on the afterlife and what happens? Are there different are there fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, or is there one heaven with all these different flavors, just like the world is, where over here there's this religion, there's that religion? What is your take on the
I feel like
afterlife?
it's one big, beautiful blender of love. Like there's literally nothing on the other side except for love. I feel like from what I've experienced and seen, and maybe from, some of the other people who I've read books from, like Anita Moorjani and stuff. But what I've seen is there is no separation. There's no separation between people in the spirit world, and there's no separation between us and the spirit world. Like it's an illusion that we are separate from the spirit. We are not. Like our loved ones are literally immersed in our energy all the time, always with us. So the biggest question I get is, did my loved one see this? Do they know this? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Every single time I will tell somebody, you can be at peace knowing that, yes, they know about the baby that just came. Yes, they know that you accomplished this. Yes, they see you. Yes, they're with you. Yes, they heard you. So there is no separation between us, the spirit world, and the spirit world themselves.
Are there alternate versions of ourselves, like quantum physics, where it's like a wave, when wherever you observe it, boom, it becomes a particle? Are there alternate versions of our soul all over the place, or is it just this one
When
life?
I get to the other side, I will try to let you know.
All right, yeah. Don't scare me. I think I might be going to the other side before you, unfortunately. I think I'm a little bit older than you are. So there's no hell then, right? If it's all love, there's no hell. So like Jeffrey Epstein, Adolf Hitler, all those cretins are in the other side, and we just have to kind of not go to house parties where they're at.
I will say something
right?
very quickly, and it's something for everybody to ponder. And it's something that has come to me in the last year as an epiphany and kind of one of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, there has to be light and there has to be dark. You have to have both. So if we came to this world to level up, you have to have the bad guy. So maybe souls are taking a turn to come here as the bad guy so that we can learn and we can grow, because without them, there is no learning, growing, soul growth. So maybe all these horrible people have taken, one for the team, so to speak, and come back here to play the negative role so that we can grow.
Wow. Yeah, I know. It's still, if I saw him on the other side, I'd be a little nervous,
Right? I know. Yeah, I get it. Totally. I get it. But
I'd cross the other side of the street if they have that in heaven. But yeah. Well, actually, I saw on your website, give us your website one more time and talk about some events you have coming up that people might want to check out.
So you can find me on mediumbrookeashley.com, no spaces. You can also find me on my Facebook, which is Mediumship with Brooke Ashley, and that one will have a dash between Brooke and Ashley. So Mediumship with Brooke Ashley on Facebook. You can find me on TikTok at Earthly Infant Paranormal. That's my biggest account. And then you can find me, and you will see me at the Oregon Ghost Conference the end of March. So Oregon Ghost Conference end of March, and then in the beginning of April is the Wash UConn in Virginia City, Nevada. You can also catch me at the Great Lakes Paranormal Conference in September, the beginning of September. And you can also catch me at the Boyd Paranormal Conference in Minnesota, the end of September. So far, that's what I have on my calendar. I'm hoping to add a lot more stuff.
And hopefully this helps, because a lot of people are looking for some guidance on how to become a medium. So I think it's great that there's a resource like you that did it and can share your experiences and help them learn. So, Brooke, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.